All right, colleagues. All right, guys, I think it's about time to get started. We'll try and be brief. Good afternoon. It's January 17th. Today we are going to be having a briefing by the Maryland Workers' Compensation Commission, Commissioner Maureen Quinn and Mary Kay Ahern, the Chief Executive Officer. I believe also has another title. She is the wife of one of our chairmen. She's Kumar Barve's wife, so be extra kind, be extra kind. And who's the other young lady? And ma'am, I'm sorry, I didn't get, okay. Okay, well, if we're ready to get started, I know I'm very happy that Delegate Fishers chose to come to a briefing. I'm very shocked. I'm very shocked, but very happy. Again, I know that I can't really say much as many briefings as I've skipped, so I'm grateful for everyone coming. We can all learn a lot. There's a lot of refresher for those of us, especially in some things like workers' comp, because there's not a lot of bills coming through. You know how things are, much like unemployment. They're not important until they really are. And we don't want to be caught behind the power curve, so it's very important that this is just a brief overview, Delegate Charkoudian, so we're not going to power into everybody too hard today. We've got a whole session for that. Just be gentle. We're just going to be gentle. We're going to have a brief overview and make sure that we show our guests the proper protocol and courtesies. However, again, if you do have important questions, I don't want them to, I don't want you to refrain. I believe I have, thanks to Ms. Denise, dozens of meetings scheduled today, so I might step in and out. But when I do, my vice chair will be here to take over. So without further ado, you guys can go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Wilson, Vice Chair Crosby, and members of the committee. I am now acting chair of the commission, and with me today is our CEO, Mary Ahern, who's worked for the commission for 23 years, and our COO, Teresa Cornish, who's been with the commission for 11 years. I've just completed my 20th year as a commissioner at the agency. That required me to do one thing, and one thing well, I hope, which was to take the bench each morning and to run my courtroom and hear a docket of cases and promptly issue orders. I am now in day 18 of being the acting chair of the commission. So I am in what I call the drinking from the fire hose phase of new leadership. So next year, I promise to bring you lots of fancy slides when if I should say, if and when you decide to invite me back. This acting chair designation is historically been given to commissioners when a chairman is out having surgery or maybe traveling internationally. I was giving this designation because Chairman Carl Allman, and yes, that is the husband of former Delegate Sue Allman, decided that he really wanted to retire December 30th and live in Florida and not wait for Governor-elect Moore to select the next chairman. Though he is a staunch Republican and I am a staunch Democrat, he and I have always seen eye to eye on how to govern our agency. So he chose me for this position because of our similar temperament and governing style, and we spent 4 months in the transition period so that things would go seamlessly. I will serve in this role until Governor-elect Moore selects the next permanent chair. The chair of the commission must be one of the 10 commissioners. And I have a pending application with the transition committee to be the next permanent chair. If chosen, I would be the first woman chair of the agency in its 109-year history. So thank you for this long block of time. I'm very mindful that our subsequent encounters are probably going to be limited to just a few minutes, and I'll be explaining our agency's position. This may be the only opportunity I have to tell you about how my life experiences have shaped my opinions and my positions. So, Chair Wilson, may I take 2 minutes of my time to tell you about myself, particularly because most of you know me and have known me for a long time, but just as wife of Kumar. Okay. Each of you can look at my resume on LinkedIn, but I wanted to offer something more personal. 3 of my 4 grandparents only went to the 6th grade. They were immigrants from Ireland. They worked as cafeteria workers and janitors and housekeepers. And I stand at this point in my life very mindful of how it is that I came to be successful. My parents were determined that we were all going to go to college. My mother could not go because her parents couldn't afford it. My father went to night school for 7 years while working full-time and raising 6 children. We were raised in suburban Philadelphia in a very white, very Catholic county. My father worked in the private business world, and he was transferred to Dallas, Texas when I was 16. And so my exposure to the South and to Southerners certainly broadened my life experience. But it really wasn't until I went to the American University for college that I really, for the first time, got to know people from all over the world and from all different cultures. I attended Temple Law School, where for the first time, I met and befriended gay people who were facing the AIDS crisis, just as they were emerging from secrecy in large numbers and hoping for happier lives. After law school, I returned to this area and had a law firm in Annapolis. For 15 years, I was a trial lawyer, but for the last 5, I had my own law firm, which included a little lobbying, including before this committee. So I like to say about my life that I've had $9 in my checking account with $10 to go until payday. I've been seriously injured, I've been divorced, I've been seriously ill, I've been at times scared and hopeless. I've worked on assembly lines, I've delivered newspapers, I've waited on tables. But because of my great parents and because of their singular focus on education, my personal and my professional life have turned out great. And especially the last 20 years at the Workers' Compensation Commission. Thank you for that indulgence. I just wanted to say one last thing about my life experiences. When I stood on the floor next to Kumar last week, as all of you were being sworn in, I was so filled with joy at the diversity of this chamber. For me, it was really electrifying. I had not had that feeling since the day that Barack Obama was elected. And I took that hour to just have joy and reflect on how far we've come. And it is my great joy to be a part of this administration and in particular a part of this agency. I'm going to turn my attention now specifically to our agency, which is a quasi-judicial agency. And I'll focus first on the judicial part. We have 10 commissioners. 1 is the chair. The 9 others take the bench every morning in our 7 courthouses. We are all appointed by the governor with the advice and consent of the Senate. Our courthouses are located in Cambridge, La Plata, Beltsville, Baltimore, Abingdon, Frederick, and LaVale. And I invite each of you to contact me if you wish to attend one of our hearing sites. You'll see that we operate much like the district courts in that we handle a high volume of cases. We rely very heavily on forms. The rules of evidence are relaxed, and we don't have live testimony from doctors, but rather rely on the competing doctors submitting their reports. 99% of all the people who appear before us are represented by attorneys. We issue orders within 4 days of a hearing on average, according to our annual report. If not the fastest, we are among the fastest in the nation because of one unique feature of our system, which we should never meddle with, and unfortunately there's no call to meddle with, and it's this. We do not have to write long legal opinions. We issue orders that address the issues presented at the hearing with the words approved, denied, or a number. If we had to write long legal opinions, injured workers would lose their homes and everything else they own waiting for legal opinions. So speed is the lifeblood of our work. Our appeal rate is 8%, which I believe demonstrates that we have in no way compromised quality for speed. On your desk, I've placed a docket sheet from our La Plata hearing site. I did this to illustrate what it is that we do. This is a typical docket from a typical day. Our hearings, like all courts, are open to the public, and these docket sheets appear on our website every day. We have court reporters and security in our courtrooms, and our decisions are appealed to the circuit court. During the pandemic, our sister state courts closed, as you know, for the most part for nearly a year. We were shut down for only 9 weeks. And even during those 9 weeks, each day, each commissioner took that docket sheet, like the one you have in front of you, and called the attorneys on both sides of the cases and attempted to mediate a resolution. Meanwhile, the executive team, 2 of whom are here today, created a video remote hearing system that we had up and running by the end of May of 2020. Thereafter, we redesigned the furniture in our courtrooms to keep everyone 6 feet apart, and we got back to work hearing cases face to face. We remained open for business, not just because injured workers needed us, but because the entire ecosystem of workers' comp needed us, and that included medical doctors, insurance companies, vocational professionals, and law firms. We cleared our backlog by September of 2020. Returning for a moment to the docket sheet, on the right side, you will see the numerical designation 1, 2, or 3. These numbers correspond to the 3 types of cases we hear and you consider bills concerning. Number 1 refers to a case that is contested because the employer is arguing that the employee wasn't injured at work or was an independent contractor, or maybe the statute of limitations has run, or some other legal defense bars the claim. And these include death cases that are contested. There are 2 types of claims: accidental injuries, like slips and falls and motor vehicle accidents. And there are also occupational diseases, like carpal tunnel syndrome, for example. Or, as this committee well knows, the cancers, the hearing loss, and the hypertension cases of firefighters and police officers. Number 2 refers to cases in which the worker, and under our statute, workers are referred to as claimants, not plaintiffs. These are cases where the claimants are seeking medical treatment, lost wages, job placement, or retraining. And lost wages are known as temporary total benefits in our statute. Under our system, claimants select their own physician, and we have a fee guide that regulates what physicians can be paid. The number 3 refers to hearings in which a sum of money is ordered to be given to the injured worker after he or she reaches maximum medical improvement. This is not paid out in a lump sum, as you see in personal injury lawsuits, but rather is paid over a number of weeks according to a statutory formula. These are known as permanent partial disability orders in the statute. Number 3 also involves SIF cases, the Subsequent Injury Fund. This is another agency regulated by this committee. And if I can sum up SIF cases in one sentence, it would be this. These are cases in which the worker was already seriously ill or injured before the work accident and was also seriously injured in the instant accident. We regulate how much injured workers' attorneys can earn in a case. And the framework is somewhat similar to personal injury cases in that the lawyer doesn't get paid unless we order monetary benefits from which a fee can be deducted. The total attorney fee that can be earned over the life of a case is capped. And I'm dwelling on this aspect of the statute as our agency has pending regulations which significantly reform the fee structure and raise the caps. And I'm going to start with a historical perspective briefly. Back when the law was considered a collegial profession, lawyers would represent an injured worker for his or her entire lifetime, even if no additional fee could be earned. But during my lifetime, the law has become, like many other professions, a brutal business. And so workers' compensation lawyers don't feel that they can or should have to remain in a case for the life of their client once a fee cannot be earned. So we regularly would see attorneys end their relationship with their clients as soon as no fee could be earned. So last month, we tackled this problem, rebalancing the need for attorneys to be paid and for injured workers to continue to have representation over the course of their lives if they needed additional medical benefits or temporary total. So our proposed regs guarantee a fee so long as the attorney is doing work on the case up to approximately $84,000 per case, which is the new cap. These regs are proposed, they're published on the Maryland Register, and they're in their public comment phase. Final adoption is set before the Commission on March 9th. Let me turn now then to the executive functions of our agency. We are responsible for making sure that employers who have employees have workers' compensation insurance and for penalizing them when they don't. We are also responsible for overseeing self-insureds. No matter how proactive we are, though, sometimes the first time we find out that a company doesn't have insurance is when an employee gets hurt. In those instances, the UEF, Uninsured Employers Fund, another committee regulated by this committee, stands in the shoes of the employer. And lastly, let me speak specifically about our agency employees. We have roughly 110 employees and are not funded by taxpayers and receive no money from the general fund. We have a $21 million budget, and we are entirely funded by assessments on insurance companies who underwrite workers' compensation insurance in this state. The amount that we charge each insurance company is based on the number of employees they provide coverage for. If there's money left over at the end of the year, we return it to the insurers. Last year, we returned just under $600,000 to the insurance companies. Much of the returned money had been budgeted for salaries that were never paid out due to job vacancies. We currently have approximately 16 vacancies. We have all of the same recruitment problems as other agencies, and we are fully committed to the Speaker's agenda of rebuilding state government. Rather than complain and dwell on how hard it is to recruit state workers, I thought I'd share with you a positive strategy that we have begun to use with some success. we put one of our happy employees on the interview panel who addresses the pay issue when it inevitably comes up. And more specifically, we hire frequently paralegals from private law firms and adjusters from insurance companies. When the issue of low pay comes up, we have the employee explain that while the pay is lower, there are no deductions for health insurance, for parking, that the dress code is more relaxed, so there may be a smaller budget needed for clothing and things of that matter. And there's the security of a lifetime pension, while modest, assures that employees will never completely run out of money before they die, and that this could mean the difference between living independently and having to move in with your children because you're destitute. So the employee explains that the discrepancy between public and private employment is not as stark as the interviewer might have thought. So on that positive note, I conclude my formal remarks. I want to offer to the subcommittee, once those members have been identified, to come back and do maybe a deeper dive on the statute and the law. And I will await the committee's questions. Thank you.
Well, again, I believe this was stated to be a brief overview. The members of the subcommittee, once they're identified, we will definitely, I'm sure, have another meeting with you and the subcommittee. Looking around the room, I don't really see any questions. So I guess that would conclude your presentation.
Excuse me. With a constituent question or any other matter you'd like to discuss. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, colleagues, I believe, not on the floor, we have to clap for everybody. Appreciate that, though. So prior to adjournment, you guys have a brief list of notes on your desk. I just wanted to make sure you understood if there was any questions. And again, this is just boring committee policy issues that we're doing snacks again this year. It's $65. Ms. Denise will hunt you down if you don't want to pay now. But please reach out to Ms. Denise for your snack dues, as we do every year. There will be a delegate staff floor laptop training on Thursday, January 19th at 1:30 in the ECM committee. All staff with access to the floor system are invited. ECM delegate new staff welcome orientation is scheduled for Monday, January 23rd at 1 p.m. in this ECM committee room. All staff are invited to meet the ECM staff and review committee protocols. So instead of bringing your staff up individually, just wait until those times occur. And lastly, I believe now that Delegate Fisher has graced us with his subcommittee wishes and goals, we will get along with selecting our subcommittees, because we were waiting on him. But we wanted to know what he wanted, and now we're going to work around him. But I just wanted to make sure that you guys know within the next few days, I'm sitting down with committee council to find out what they're looking at, and then we're going to make those decisions very shortly. Delegate Ahrens, I believe you have a question.
Convey that I think Delegate Fisher expressed to me that he'd like to be on each subcommittee, and if you could do that.
And he's a sought-after delegate, as many of us know, and everybody wants him on their subcommittee. So, yes, there's a lot of infighting to figure out who's going to get him, believe me. So, other than that, guys, we can adjourn this meeting. Thank you guys very much for your attendance and your attention. No applause again.